In Fairfield County, something new comes across my desk every day. Crimes are committed, cases are solved, and a community is made safe by the hardworking employees of the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office.
Welcome to This Week with Sheriff Dave Phelan, a weekly program here on LSN Television. We're also carried by a number of radio affiliates here in Lancaster. Do appreciate you, the viewers and listeners that join us each and every week. This program is actually produced at Fairfield Christian Academy. Appreciate the students here that put the program together. Our executive producer, Kelly Roberts, behind the scene, lining the guests up and the questions, does a good job in those areas. We have a great program coming up this week. And next week we have with us Todd McCullough. Good to see you, Todd.
Good to see you.
And Kathleen Ewell.
Nice to see you.
And they are with the Franklin County Dog Adoption and Shelter, right?
Yeah, well, Fairfield County.
Fairfield County
Yes.
Dog Adoption Center and Shelter.
Yeah, right.
And you've both been there about 3 years.
Yeah, we started August of 2013, and it's flown right by.
Well, before we get to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm from Columbus originally. I chose to move to Lancaster and Fairfield County because it was a place that I always felt a connection to. And as I graduated from Ohio University Lancaster, I was looking for an opportunity and to help the community. And I saw this as a great opportunity for me to do that. Kathleen, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about yourself real quick.
Sure. I was born and raised here in Lancaster in Fairfield County. And I also graduated in 2013 from Ohio University Lancaster with a communications degree. And Todd, after getting the dog warden position, called me up and said, "Hey, I may have something for you to do to help here as well." And that was something I was also interested in. So, like you said, it's been 3 years. It seems like a long time sometimes, and sometimes it seems like it's been really quick. So.
Yeah, well, I think you've both done a great job. I mean, I've heard really nothing but positive information about the center and the work you do there. And, some things that I think we may want to talk about. What happens when there is a dog roaming around? You see it in your neighborhood. What should people do? And then what's your responsibility once you're made aware of that?
Sure. The first thing people should do is they should call us. Our phone number is 740-687-DOGS or 3647, and let us know that there is a dog running around in the area. What we will do is then one of our officers will come out and try their best to catch the dog, to keep it safe and keep the community safe. And then bring it back to the shelter so we can keep it safe until we can find the owner or until we have the opportunity to adopt it out and put it into a good home. So for us, we're responsible for enforcing dog at large laws. So if a dog is running at large, we will look at the situation and try to determine whether or not it warrants a citation or a warning and to be in compliance with ORC.
Okay. And you are the outreach coordinator?
Yes.
Is that and operations director and a lot of different things you do there?
Some different hats.
What all do you do there, Kathleen?
I do, wow. I do a lot of the financial processes, so paying bills, things like that. I do just day-to-day management of the staff. Mm-hmm. I help somewhat with the scheduling, things like that. Training staff.
Lots going on.
Community outreach. Community outreach as far as, scheduling things like this, like today, going out to events, making sure that we're visible in the community.
Yeah, I think there's probably a lot of people really don't know what all you folks do,
right,
or what some of the things that go on out there. What happens if there is someone is bit by a dog? Mm-hmm. What do they need to do?
Well, the first thing they need to do is if they need medical attention, obviously they need to go and seek that. Then once that is taking place, they report that to us, and then we will go out and we'll look at the situation and try to determine whether or not the dog should be designated as a dangerous or vicious dog, and make sure that rabies quarantine and those kinds of things are upheld, just to make sure that the situation is handled appropriately. We're responsible for maintaining the dangerous dog registry for Fairfield County. So it's part of our responsibility to make sure that we look at these situations and determine whether or not it was a simple accident versus something that might be telling of the dog's nature and might need more to keep it under control.
Yeah, so it was several years ago that I believe it was I was in a parade in Pleasantville, and no, I was knocking on doors. I was actually, the time I was running for sheriff, the first time I knocked on this lady's door, and her dog came out. It was a little dog, and it bit my hand. I mean, and it really hurt.
Yeah.
Have you been bit by a dog before?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I bet you have in your business. But, I mean, it really hurt. And so I went to urgent care, and they took care of it. And it would be like a year later, and I was actually then in a parade, and I seen the house, and her dog was on the porch. And I said, how's your dog? And she said, mean as ever. And so nothing ever come of that. But
Right. It's funny because a lot of people look at their dog as how the dog acts with them, and they see this dog loves me and it's always great.
Yeah.
My dog would never bite. Everybody says my dog would never bite, but then their dog has bitten somebody, and so you have to determine whether or not that's something that's a deeper problem for the dog, or if it's something that maybe the person contributed to the situation.
so what happens if you keep getting calls, and I guess I'll direct this to you, Kathleen. What happens if people would keep calling and there's a dog that keeps getting out, and then you guys have to go out and take it to the shelter? What are some of the penalties for that?
So some of the penalties, so like you said, the first time out, we'll address the situation. We'll try to look at whether or not it really warrants a warning or a citation. The first time, we try to be more lenient. We try to do a warning when we can. And then, but if it's becoming a continuous problem, something our officers do as well, they educate, so they'll go out and they actually talk about with the owner, how can we resolve this problem? Well, my child keeps opening the back door. Okay, maybe try some higher up locks, that your child wouldn't be able to open the back door. Things like that. They'll give them suggestions. Okay, well, I see here there's a weakness in your fence. Is the dog getting out through the fence maybe? Oh, I didn't consider that. So they'll go through different options with them rather than trying to penalize them definitely that first time. And then even if they do have to write a citation, they do the education along with the citation. And then if the dog happens to actually come into the shelter at the point where they have to redeem the dog, if they weren't home for us to return it in the field, it's a $25 the first day, and then it's $10 every day after that. And it depends on which offense it is. So say your dog came in a second time in a year, it goes up to $50 that first day.
Wow.
And $10 each day after that for care. So it can add up pretty quickly, and it's really best to just try to make sure that the dogs are staying contained.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's about education, and it's about trying to enact some responsibility for your actions. And so if it's a continual problem, they will also in the court system, they will escalate the charges, and the penalties will become more and more severe over time.
Now, one thing that before airtime we talked a little bit about is the licensing, and I'm going to guess probably a lot of people don't get licenses, and
Right.
and why should they? And then secondly, how do they get one?
Sure. Well, licenses go on sale every year, December 1st through January 31st, and they're required by law. The how is very simple in some ways. You can always come to the shelter and purchase your dog license. You can go to the county auditor's office in Lancaster and purchase a dog license. They are available online, and there's also a lot of satellite locations during that time of year around the county, so you don't have to come all the way in if you live way on the other side of Bremen. You can go to the drive-through or whatever it is and purchase it there. The reason you should have your dog license, there's actually a lot of reasons. One, it helps establish you as the owner.
Right.
A lot of times there's disputes about whether or not a dog belongs to somebody, and the first thing they'll say is the dog legally licensed to them? Also, if the dog does get out or does find its way into the shelter, it's the best way for us to ensure that the dog is returned home successfully. So it really, there's a lot of reasons to it, why it's so important, but to us, it's a very important part of what we do.
Yeah. And then how do people get a license?
They can get it, like you said, by coming into the shelter, and it's $15 if you're renewing, or it's a brand new dog or license, or you've just moved into the area. It would be $15. If you miss that deadline though, and you don't get it before January 31st, at that point it doubles, so it would actually go up to $30. So it really benefits people, especially if you have multiple dogs, to go ahead and get the licenses for those dogs during that renewal period, so that it doesn't double on each of them.
Right.
So, and then, like you said, online on the auditor's website, there's a dog licensing system called Fido's, and you can purchase your license there as well.
And so that would be true even if they had an indoor pet, outdoor pet. Doesn't make any difference. They need to get licensed.
Doesn't make a
and
difference.
They need to renew it every year.
Right.
Okay.
You can purchase long-term licensing. There's a 3-year license and a permanent license, but for the most part, people choose 1-year license.
Well, tell me about that. So if they just want to say, I just want to go in one time, how do you do that?
So the 3-year license, you would just pay the full 3 years basically up front. It's this, 15 times 3, and then you would go 3 years, and then you would get a renewal notice. You wouldn't get the renewal notice until that third year. And then the permanent, or a 10-year license, it's really for like 10 years. And that you could buy if the dog's a puppy. I mean, you could buy it, and you're planning on keeping it for a long time, and that's good for the the lifespan of the dog for the most part.
Right. So you don't have to remember to renew it.
But is that kind of rare, or most people
it's new. It
newer.
just started in 2012, and there are people that are taking advantage of it, but it's more rare. A lot of people choose to do a 1-year license
just because of the financial.
Right, the financial, or you never know what happens in life and how things are going to work out.
How many dogs do you typically have out there? What would be a range?
It depends by year, the time of year. A lot of times, we average right around 31 to 32 dogs in the shelter.
Okay.
We bring in approximately 800 to 900 dogs a year.
Really?
Yeah, and it's actually come down a lot since 2011.
That is
It
kind
was
of
like
amazing.
1,200.
Yeah, it was 1,200 a couple of years ago. So we think that's because spaying and neutering is helping.
Yes.
But during a month, we'll adopt out 60, 70 dogs. It just kind of depends on the time of year. The summer when it's really, really hot, or the winter when it's really, really cold, dogs kind of lay low just like people do.
Right.
Springtime.
It's just like crime.
Yeah, exactly.
It's lower in the wintertime as opposed to summer.
Exactly, yeah. So spring's always very busy, and fall's usually pretty busy as well.
So lots of things going on. I'm surprised at how many dogs go through the shelter. I mean, I really didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
We just did a project recently where we printed photographs of every dog that came through the shelter, and it was 400 yards of photographs, 4x6 photographs for 1 year.
We're close on time here. I'd like to probably have you folks back next week and talk a little bit about adoption. I'm sure there's a lot of viewers and listeners out there who'd like to know, what do I do to adopt a dog? What's the process? And then just a lot of things going on out there. Appreciate you, Todd McCullough and Kathleen Ewell with the Fairfield County Dog Adoption Center and Shelter, taking time out of your day to come. I appreciate that. And I'm sure the viewers and listeners have learned a lot of things this week, and I certainly have. Do appreciate you, the viewers and listeners that join us each and every week. Again, this program is produced at Fairfield Christian Academy. We have our students here, J.T. Burcham, the instructor. And behind the scenes, we have Kelly Roberts, our executive producer. Until next week, same time, same place. God bless. Buckle up, and we'll see you right here then.